on the Texas A&M Sports Network. From Learfield, welcome to the Coach Jimbo Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit, a leader in agricultural financing. Also brought to you in part by Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer, is a proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics. Celebrate responsibly. Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue. Visit Rudy's.com to find real Texas barbecue near you. Twisted Tea, hard iced tea for the 12th man. Please drink responsibly. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Texas, driving access to better health through it all. And by Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better. Now, welcome to the Coach Jimbo Show. Here's the voice of the Aggies, Andrew Monaco.
Howdy, and welcome inside the home of the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit. That is Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. And for the next hour, we're talking Texas A&M football. And we're doing it with the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies, Jimbo Fisher. We will look back at the game against Ole Miss last Saturday in Oxford and look ahead to Saturday's 6:30 kickoff against the Mississippi State Bulldogs. And since it is crossover season, with football and basketball overlapping, we'll hear from the head coach of the Texas A&M men's basketball team, Buzz Williams. He'll talk about chemistry, character, consistency. It's wonderful to see everyone here at Rudy's. We appreciate you each and every week being here for the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. If you're joining us on the 12th Man mobile app, thank you. Perhaps Learfield's Varsity Network app, or Behind the Mic, where you can check in and say hello to our stream. It's on the Texas A&M Football Facebook page. However you're joining us, thank you for being with us. And when we come back, we'll talk with the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies. It's the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, and it's presented by Capital Farm Credit. And this is Aggie football from Learfield. The Jimbo Fisher Radio Show is brought to you by Capital Farm Credit, the largest agricultural lender in Texas. Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better. We're at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. Another chance to talk ball for an hour. It's one of my favorite hours, not going to lie. I like it better when we do after wins, but I want to talk about that game at Ole Miss, Jimbo, because something that has stayed with me that you have talked about your athletes and the guys that you bring in. And you always talk about what separates greatness from average. That when you climb to the mountain, we've talked about this. Jack Nicklaus always looked for another mountain to climb, right? But you say there's this tendency to relax. Your team could have relaxed down a couple of touchdowns on the road, but you talk about the tenacity and the fight, and I thought that came out on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, there was some great – I mean, that game had a little bit of everything. Like I say, we were down 14-0. They're kicking a field goal to go up 17. We block it, go 14-7. They immediately go back and score, make it 27. Well, offensively, we had moved the ball, but we hadn't scored. Mm-hmm. Well, then all of a sudden we said, nope, make it 20-14. Then get the opening drive second half, which I love. The last drive of the first half, first drive of the second half, we were fixing to take that, and then we're on 1st and 4 and 4. We make a mistake. Should have got in, didn't. They get the ball in the interception and then go score, make it 28-14. And, you know, on the sideline a little bit, you know, you got to keep going, man, what do I got to do? We went right back and scored again, 28-21. Then they went back 31-21. Then we went back 31-28. Then we held them. Then we went back 35-31. Right. Then they got their drive 38-35. Then we take it back and we're kicking a field goal to tie it. So, I mean, there is a lot of resiliency and competitive. There's no quit. There's no – I mean, being able to rise to the occasion, like I said, but we needed to get one more play on offense, one more play on defense, one more play on special teams, any one of them. Like the last kick, I mean, it was hitting in the top joint of the middle finger of the guy in the middle. I mean, you find the inches, and you got to find them. There's no excuse. Listen, it's all great to do that, but you got to win the game, and you got to play better, and you got to find ways to get ahead and make them. But the resiliency of our guys, the ability to keep coming back and that thing, I mean, it was there was a lot of times when, especially on the road, it could have been tough. But you know, they fought in there, and we just got to find it. And we got to get it back and get it ready for this weekend, not dwell on it, and play a good Mississippi State team. You had drives stall, but in that second quarter, that's when you moved consistently, Jimbo. We always got the first down. We got second. We had a critical drop. The second series was a big play. We missed a block on one, and then I can't remember the other one. They jumped up and got the tip of the ball. And we were hitting Jade, on a big pass, who, by the way, had a great day stepping in and had a 100-yard day. Had 8 catches, 100 yards, and big catches at the end. He and 3 all played well. 0, of course, always played well. And Le'Veon was running the ball really well. Got banged up, but then 4 kept running, and 2 come in, did a good job. So, in that group. And Max played a really good game. He had one critical mistake, but man, he just kept bringing us back, making plays, getting us in position to win the game, and and we just didn't get it done.
So when it's opportunity, you're at the one. Let's just have Max dive over because that's just Max Johnson, right?
Yeah, he did. We had the ability. If the look is there, you can push it and sneak it. If not, we have other plays we can run. And we were getting surge in the second half, moving the line of scrimmage. Our offensive line did a good job, and we were able to pick those up.
I loved the 3rd and 1 call. I know he doesn't hit Jake, but I love that call. And now every team you play from now on.
Well, we knew we were going to go for it 4th down. We were in that situation where you got 3rd and 1, you can take a chance. We had dialed that up all week. It's a play we've had in our offense for a long time. Bob, actually funny, we both have ran that play for years.
You and Bobby?
Both.
Oh,
I mean,
really?
even he was at Louisville years ago, at Auburn, and I was at LSU, and even at FSU. It's an old shot play that you had, and really the other safety kind of got into it. He could have stuck him, or we could have hit the flat route. But taking those shots and trying to be aggressive right there, Bob made a great call, and then we were able to come back on 4th down and be able to pick up the 1st down and what you're trying to do. So it was a really good call by him.
And then going forward on 3rd and 1, now Mississippi State. You got takes away a tendency.
Yeah, what we did at Miami, if you remember, Crowdover caught the 3rd and 1 ball down there. That was a nice touchdown play. You can't just always run the football. I mean, listen, if you ever watch pro football, you ever watch when you get to the 1 or 2 yard back, so that's where they end up throwing it over 50% of the time because everybody's putting too many people. They're putting unblockable people in the gaps, and they're saying, listen, if you're going to throw it, throw it. We're not going to let you run it in and make it easy. You know what I'm saying? And so you got to have the ability to do both, and we do a good job of that. As
that game was going on, you were getting that rushing yardage, Jimbo, but right up the middle. It seemed behind Bryce.
Our zone
really
plays,
good.
our guards, our tackles. We moved to zone and stretch. We were able to hit pretty good. We hit the counter. We were able to hit the counter play and moving a gap play and getting some movement across there and hitting it up in that A gap. And we were splitting it with 4 and 8. We're really getting up in there. And Nias, too. Nias hit it up in there and getting him back in the backfield and keep creating touches for him, ways for him to touch the ball any way you can is we got to do that.
Mixing sports, he's just a home run hitter, right?
Yeah,
can't have the ball in his hands.
Well,
enough.
you can't get enough, and he can do it in so many diverse ways that really cause you don't understand is just the ability to go in the backfield from a 1-back set when people are in nickel defense and to run a 2-back run. Your fits in the secondary and at backer and at nickel and safety. If you don't work those in a 2-back, because you don't call the same fronts, blitzes, or things, and it makes people have to have a package for that. And when you don't do that, a lot of people don't work on it. And if they do, it's very minimal. So you can take advantage of it if you have an exclusive package and the guy that's smart and can do multiple things like he does.
What is the difference between Max being in shotgun or your quarterback in shotgun? What are the advantages of them going under center with the 2-backs?
Well, I mean, depending on if you're in passing. See, if you go back to the old Bill Walsh days, he would not get in a shotgun.
Right.
Because he didn't want the quarterback's eyes off the secondary at any time when the ball was snapped. See, because when you're taking the snap, even though you're looking up, you still got to catch the ball. Bad snap takes your eyes. That's why I say when a center snaps the ball low, it's the worst thing that can ever happen to a quarterback because your eyes go down to get the ball. When you go back up, everything's changed. It is just the ability to go from snapping it from here to from 6 to 8, 10 inches can be huge because in your gathering of information. So I always say it's like driving a car down the road. Put your head, be driving 60 miles an hour in traffic. Put your head down below the steering wheel, count 1,001, and raise up and have everybody go. I mean, you know how quick and how panic, and that's the way it is. Your information gets changed, and when you're underneath, your eyes should never come off the downfield safeties. And when you're and in the run game, too, you can get more downhill. The center can get a better snap sometimes, come off the ball. There's a lot of little things both ways.
It's nice to watch. Like, I love the tight end is back in the game, and I love saying 2-back. It's a little old school, but it's.
Well, you say old school, but here's what you got to understand. When you don't play with tight ends, you don't play with backs, you have to be if YNC in pro football, you always see a tight end. Because people rush too good. And when you're playing in our league, the defensive ends, you see very few teams that play with no tight ends and play full wide because the people in our league have the best D linemen in the country.
Right.
It's the closest to NFL football. You're not blocking those guys in everything you do without tight ends, widening guys, chipping guys, backs chipping guys, and what you do because it's just not – now, certain leagues you can get by with that because they don't have the D linemen. When people have D linemen, you're not playing with 2 short edges. Consistently.
So that tight end, even though that position keeps changing and you can flex them out as combination receiver,
they don't know where you're at.
They still have to block in the SEC.
Oh, they do have to. Well, and you have to chip, and also body press. Just by putting that guy there, it makes that other guy not have a free lane to rush. You know what I mean? And as he gets out, it brings you into the tackle where he can block you more. You can't speed rush him up the end. I mean, those are all things. I mean, it's just all little nuances of the game that help that, a lot of people don't understand that aspect of it.
And that split second of that chip can be the difference between a rushed pass or a completion.
Well, you're talking about in a drop back pass. If you're getting 2.3 on most of them is quick. 2.8 is a long time. And you're talking about 0.6, 0.8, 0.5. You can chip a guy for 0.2. The ball's out. Things like should be out. You know what I'm saying? And those are you're fighting half a second, tenths of seconds, 2/10 of seconds. Yeah. Is the difference in a play and not a play.
But quarterbacks feel that. They know when they're getting that extra half second,
right? They know when
right?
they do it. They know it. And when it's around and you're able to get it out and not get hit.
He's Jimbo Fisher, head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies, taking on Mississippi State this Saturday at 6:30 at Kyle Field. 5:30 with our St. Joseph Health pregame. When we come back, we'll talk more about that Ole Miss game. And still to come, we'll hear from Buzz Williams. That's when we continue. It's the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit. This is Aggie football from Learfield. Aggies Can is celebrating over 2 decades of giving back to our local community. You can text Aggies Can to 83200 to support the Brazos Valley Food Bank. That's now through November 19th. Special thanks to Brookshire Brothers, to HEB, to KBTX, and to Whataburger for partnering with our Student Athlete Advisory Committee. That's in support of the Brazos Valley Food Bank and the 12th Can. Again, text Aggies Can to 83200 or visit 12thman.com/Aggies Can to learn more. They are checking in, but first we start with Vicky and Choya, listening all along the network. Our buddy Christopher's over there, as he has been every week. Howdy, Zach. Look at the coaches. Oh, we don't have Jimbo.
Can you hear me?
Yet. There we go.
There we go. Yeah, Vicky and Choya. Make sure we say hello to them and hope you all having a great evening. We miss you.
Yeah, so it makes it better. And Olga and Effie have checked in from College Station.
Oh, wow, they're in there.
Isn't that great?
That's awesome.
That's fantastic. Awesome. Usually it is from Australia, so what is it for them, like tomorrow or whatever? You talk about the jet lag from all the way over there.
I don't know.
But it's a nice time of year because Mississippi State and Abilene Christian are back-to-back.
And last 2 games here, exactly right.
Yeah, so that is always good. As I opened up social media today and I see a post on this signing day that Samford has signed Ethan Fisher. That's awesome, Jimbo.
Surprised me, too. I knew he did it a couple of days ago. I didn't know he'd put it out today, too. Guys were texting me, so I called him. I said, why did you tell me you put it out today, you daggone knucklehead? He said, I've been around it long enough. I know what to do. I said, okay.
You joked in your office today. The last conversation you had with him was about deer hunting.
Yeah, he texted me earlier than me. I got it this morning about 7 o'clock or something. Because they're an hour ahead, and he looked up and on the cameras on the thing, he saw a deer. He said, new deer. And I said, hey, he'd already put it out. He was texting me about deer. Didn't he tell me he was doing that? I said, so I was giving him a hard time. No, it is. It's awesome. I'm proud of him, love him. And, it's like you say, he's been through so much and what he's overcame and the things he's overcame and never dreamed that he'd even have a chance to do that, let alone play football, but then never to go to college and play. And that, the Lord works in some great ways, and we're making some tremendous progress with Kids First, and it's awesome. I mean, it's just I can't be proud. He's a special young man. Not just because he's mine, but he really is. Yeah,
it's and that the first group that he thanked was Aggies. Right? Yeah. Aggies, Seminoles, obviously.
He is he is so tied in there. I mean, he loves everything about it. He loves the people, the actions. I mean, he's genuine about all that stuff. He really is.
And you talked about the impact of the time of working with Kids First Fund and all that. It's not just the Fanconi anemia. It's all the other things that they're finding out that can be helped.
It's huge. And a lot of the developments they're making in sickle cell right now is based off Fanconi anemia.
Is it really?
It's all coming from the gene replacement and the gene therapy and all that stuff. And, I mean, a lot of it. I mean, and then leukemias and then this gene replacement, gene theory. I mean, it's making some tremendous progress here lately, and they can win, and you can fix things possibly in the future. I mean, he's got a lot of work to go and years to go.
Sure.
Maybe, but I don't think it's it could be quicker than the progress they've made so far, we never dreamed it'd be close to here. So we just keep trying to raise money for them and let those doctors. They're the heroes of the world.
Yeah.
One that saves lives.
2-time All-District kicker.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
When did he get into kicking?
When he couldn't play any other position. They wouldn't let him play contact. He still can't get the hits and all that stuff. So he always did it. I mean, we always kick. I punted all the way through high school and part of college too. I did it in college some.
Yeah.
And we always kicking and punting, and always said it's a valuable thing for your teammates. So Trey punted a little bit, he wanted to kick and just always liked it. And then we couldn't have the contact play the other positions, but that's a position he can play. And so he said, well, let me go do this. That allows me to play. So he wanted to play.
That's fantastic. So between Trey and Ethan, how much were you an advisor over all this recruiting?
Not really. They kind of did themselves. Trey and him, when he made his choice, he went in, committed. I got it. You don't have to go in. I ain't like they ain't been around it. How many times they sat and listened to me on the phone or sitting in an office or in the back of the office listening and watching and, being around it and talking to everybody, since they can remember. So, yeah. I'm just a dad. Where you want me at, I'll be there to advise. If I see something wrong, I'll make a suggestion. But listen, you're big, and if you got to make your own choices in life. Life's about making choices, knowing how to make them. I'm not the coach now. I'm the dad.
Yeah.
I want to sit back and enjoy and let them kind of navigate their own way and where they want to go and what they want to do.
It's hard to take your hands off after you've had them as a parent, right?
You know something? I thought it was, but it really wasn't.
Yeah?
It really wasn't. Because, I've seen it go both ways. I've seen parents get too involved.
Yeah.
And I've seen parents not get involved, in different things. So I was there to give advice. And they would ask. Dad would ask, listen, I think that's good, and that's good. Now, I'm not going to tell you what to do and how to. You got to make your choices and make a list. Things are important to you. What you're looking for. What do you want to do? You got to learn how to make a choice.
Yes, you do.
And if I always say, life's about choices. Everything you has a consequence, good and bad. And I always say that never going to make perfect choices all the time. But even if that choice is a little bit wrong, but it's for the right reason, it can be adjusted. It's the ones that you make being not prepared or things that get you in trouble. And I said, you guys know how to do it. So they've handled themselves, and they did a great job.
A great day today.
I was happy for me.
That's wonderful for Ethan.
I was a proud dad.
It is a crossover season, so when we come back, something that Buzz Williams said earlier this week that reminded me of you as he was saying it. So we'll hear Buzz when we return to the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. This is Aggie football from Learfield. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance wants to give you a VIP Aggie basketball fan experience this year. Go to 12thman.com/maroon contest. That's where you register. One winner and a guest will receive game tickets, a VIP tour of Reed Arena, and you'll be recognized on the video board during the game. You can register today. 12thman.com/maroon contest. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance is a proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics. This week, women's basketball opens tomorrow, Reed Arena. Texas A&M Corpus Christi is at Reed Arena. Aggie men's basketball at Ohio State on Friday before the football game on Saturday. Friday's also round one NCAA soccer postseason. Aggies at home hosting Colorado Coach G's team. Crossover season. Get a chance to talk with Buzz Williams. We went a little longer than we normally did before the season opening win on Monday, but something that Buzz said towards the end of our conversation, and when he talks about chemistry, he said that talks about the character of your players. So he talks chemistry, character, and consistency of message.
But you guys as a staff, he's the best Henry Coleman he can be. He's the best Wade Taylor he can be. You identify the best that these guys can be and then bring that out of them, don't you?
Yeah, and I think what helps, and I've learned this more so here than anywhere else, the good thing is when Ford calls his dad just says, yeah, whatever they're telling you. And when Henry calls his mom, Miss Coleman just says, yeah, I don't know, Henry, it's just whatever they're saying. So there's no mixed messaging. Whatever Solo's mom says, whatever Boots' dad and mom and stepmom say, there's no escape valve. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's one thing that we've done a better job of is everybody talks about recruiting the player. I think we've done a really good job of explaining to the adults the transparency at which we operate. Mo's mentor, he could come sit on our bench and he would say the same things to Mo that I say. So when Mo's having a bad day or Mo doesn't play, he can call Pops, and Pops is going to say, hey, whatever Buzz and Lyle are saying. So in this day and age, I think that's a component that I've realized is critical in all of this.
Consistency of message is vital, isn't it, to success?
There's just so many voices. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like when you click podcast on your phone and it's like there's literally over 1 million podcasts. There's so many voices on so many topics. But the same is true in your life, in my life, and I think it's even more so in a 20-year-old's life. There's so many choices, and so how can you succinctly get the voices that they listen to be the same podcast, that's incredibly rare.
You understand why I thought about you while he said that.
Well, here's the thing. I just story is funny today. A guy from San Diego was here, told Mark, and he was there. He said, our best player is Derwin James. He said he's our favorite player in the organization. He's been our favorite player for maybe the last 50. He said we haven't had a guy like that ever. He said there's everything about him, his work ethic, his demeanor. He played for me at Florida State.
Yeah.
And I tell you a funny thing. It was one time I was sitting there with his dad, and it was him and a little thing had happened. He came up and said, he called him in my office and said, well, let's have a meeting. I said, okay. He said, Derwin, you understand something? What he says is right. I agree with him 100%. If he says jump off his building, he ain't ever going to tell you anything wrong. He's going to love you, trust. And he said, trust it, do it. When he got the same message from home, listen, that guy was as good a player as I ever coached, and he's as good a player as they're saying it in the NFL. Now, there's tons of guys with talent. But when you get the same message from the coach, from the family, from all the people around, made me think of that story just right off the bat. The same things you're getting there, you're getting there. And Dalvin was like that. Darren was like Eric McCoy was like that here. Kellen was like that. His dad was exactly like that. An old military guy, straight get things on the line, the way you did things. If he says it, that's the way it is. I mean, all the great players I've had here, there, everywhere I've been, it's the same thing. The messaging from home, there's no cross-wiring. And in today's time, there's a lot of cross-wiring. Yeah. I mean, everything under the sun, more so than ever, because you can communicate, and they can talk to so many more people. It wasn't that way in the old days. Well, no, but you couldn't communicate. Those kids couldn't get all the voices from the outside to them. It's very hard to make sure they can understand it because, they think, well, this guy's done this, and some people get in people's lives for no reason at all. Well, and sometimes you get sick of hearing dad. You get sick of hearing mom. You get sick of hearing coach. I mean, you see it all the time, and voices. And the guys can keep it clear. That's as good a message to people as there is. We all got to be on the same page.
You say that from the moment you walk into that recruit's living room to their parents.
That's the way
that
it
doesn't
is.
change from the moment you shake their hand next Saturday, right? When they're done playing with you and 20 years at the reunion.
I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you the truth. People tell you what you want to hear, don't care about you. People who tell you the truth love you. Because truth can be hard. Both ways. I mean, so even in player to coach to player, hey, that's been both ways. People wait, something, you're right. We'll make the adjustment. I mean, but it's the reality of the world today, and probably more so than ever. Yeah.
There's a reason why trust is part of love, trust, and belief.
Trust is everything. If there's no trust, how's there a relationship? You may love somebody. You can love somebody, but you don't trust them. You don't want a relationship with them. Mm-hmm. I mean, we all have people like that in our lives. You love them to death, but you can't trust them. Right. And if you can't trust them, you can't be all the way in. And that's where the belief comes. Love, you got to love them, and you got to trust them. And that's the most important thing. Mm-hmm. And you got to believe in them.
Yeah, absolutely. Jimbo Fisher, head coach, fighting Texas Aggies. We'll come back more. Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit. This is Aggie football from their field. Barker's Heating and Cooling, proud to be the official heating and cooling provider for Texas A&M Athletics, earning your seal of approval since 1974. Lots changed since then, but our pride in Aggie football and our commitment to providing great service remains as strong as ever. Barker says, "Gig 'em, Aggies." We continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show presented by Capital Farm Credit. Jimbo, that game at Ole Miss, a physical game. So some updates. Le'Veon Moss comes out of that game. Sam McCall comes out of that game. What we hear about Max Johnson. Give us an update if you can.
No, those guys are banged. I mean, they all get banged, but they're in practice and doing well. And we'll see as the time goes and what they do. But, you don't ever know. At this time of year, it's always bumps and bruises. And some guys don't find out till after the game they're hurt. You know what I mean? Sometimes you be coming home and find things that happen because your adrenaline and everything goes up. Like I say, your depth in this league is important.
And the depth, Jimbo, now since you've been here is very different.
It's better. It's better than it was. I mean, we're getting there and recruiting and all the things we've got there, and got some young guys and build the depth that. We get young guys, but then get them ready to play. You know what I'm saying? And so we're in a good position.
You also have to find out. You always say this. What are you going to do when the lights come on?
Yeah, I mean, you don't ever know. I mean, they get ready, but when those lights come on and those numbers on the scoreboard really matter. It's amazing. Some guys take another step. I mean, you think you're worried about it, and all of a sudden, man, shoot, they get game day. they take off. Other guys, it takes them a little longer to get going. That's all part of the maturity process.
Hard not to have Tyreek Chappelle and Deuce Harmon there at corner, but you have Javon Thomas, who you've raved about. You're able to put Josh DeBerry over there and his versatility.
Yeah, and playing at nickel and all the different places he plays,
Yeah, and that's only going to help him not just here, right?
But
if he wants to continue.
Diversity, and playing on special teams. He did a great job in special teams in this game, too. He made some really good plays on special teams and been a valuable part. And
that Aniyah Smith, the catch that he made on the punt at the 5, the versatility, did he make that? It's like that's just a kid who wants to play.
They did
right?
that diving and they made the diving vertical play, and he just compete. His ability to compete. That's his. I mean, of all the things, that's toughness. Just his ability to overall compete. When you're talking about being a competitor, you're tough. I mean, you have all those intangibles, and he wants to lay it out there on the line. That's what he does.
Will his legacy be written, Jimbo, after Noah Thomas leaves and after Evan Stewart leaves? What I say is they get to watch him every single day and how he carries himself.
The work ethic and the practice.
It's not going to be the day he walks off campus. It's going to be through those guys.
Yeah, I mean, he'll carry on because he set a standard of how to practice, how to do things, and how to be selfless. He does a great job blocking. He'll go play tailback. He'll go block. He'll do a lot of things.
He's always said, where do you need me?
Yeah.
Right? He's one of those guys.
As I say, certain guys, a lot of guys play ball. How many guys truly love to play ball? And what I'm saying is when you truly love to play ball, you don't care where they put you. You don't ask, you just go do it. Other guys, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do this. I mean, it's just human nature. But there are certain guys, man, and have the ability to do it.
That's the
mindset to go do it.
Right. Because it's a commitment, especially if you're going to change a position.
Whatever you are, you got to be committed. You got to be all the way in.
Right. That's Max Wright, right? We talked about that.
Yeah, Max and Nice, all those guys.
Demetrius Crownover is who.
Guys that do it, yep.
It's great to have that group. Taking on Mississippi State on Saturday, 6:30 is the kick at Kyle Field. We'll get you started at 5:30 with our St. Joseph Health pregame show. And we will talk about those Bulldogs when we come back to the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Howdy, Ags. Andrew Monaco here, inviting you all to visit Costa Vida Fresh Mexican Grill. Baja-style Mexican, made from scratch daily, serving breakfast tacos, lunch, and dinner. Aggie-owned and operated. That's our friend Holly, South College Station. Jason's checking in from Fred, Texas. We told you Effie and Olga from College Station. Paul's from Tennessee. Stephen Meisner says, howdy, Jimbo. Kensington, Kansas. Covington, Louisiana. Belton, Linden, California. San Antonio, they have all checked in, as they do every week, which is good. To Mississippi State. Usually we talk, we're going to talk about Mike Leach, and we're going to talk about the air raid. Jimbo, you told me this a while ago, that the time that you were at LSU and the time that you were at Auburn, and even while you were coaching with Florida State, underrated Mississippi State's defense, and yet if you're watching on a Sunday and you see the impact linemen, they're all from Mississippi State.
There's a lot of them, and they're defensive people, defensive personnel, a lot of guys in the league. I mean, you're talking about from Chris Jones to Simmons to here's the one I'm missing, Fletcher Cox, who has been as good as has been in ball. Sweat, the end. I mean, their ends are tackled always up front. Backers, safeties, a lot of and I'm gonna tell you what, a lot of corners. A lot of first 2-3 round corners, long, athletic guys. I mean, on defense, they've put a lot of guys in the league over the years and played for a long time, and have always been that way. You don't realize, and be great pros, not good pros, but great pros, great college players. And then, of course, offensively, up front, Coach, he does a great job defensively. I don't know if he's calling it, but it's his defense and the twists and stunts in the games they play up front. It's a pain it's a pain to go against. They really are. Constant blitz and constant pressure. Safeties, they have a safety who they'll play single high, but he also be a Mike linebacker. And the way they run him down, make tackles, the corners are long and lanky, mix different sets up, 3 down, 4 down, stand linemen up and then bring them from different places. They do a really good job on that. Offensively, the quarterback, if he's healthy and playing, he's as good as there is in the league.
Yes, he is.
Will Rogers can throw it, can play it. 5 is unbelievable. I mean, he can run. He had a 200-some yard game at South Carolina this year, returning, but their other receivers are good. Back is good. I'm telling you, the back missed last game. Hopefully, he's supposed to. I guess he'll be back this week. He'll be a big-time NFL guy. Can run it. 7 can really go. They're a good team. I mean, they're a physical team. Got really good players. And if he's not playing a quarterback, the other end you're playing, quarterback runs and different angles. I mean, so you're preparing 2 different groups. And that's a pain. The amount of time and structure and how detailed you can be, the amount of time you do things with two different guys, it's hard for preparation.
Long time ago, Jackie Sherrill was there, and he had Joe Lee Dunn, and Joe Lee Dunn rubbed off on Rocky.
I was at Auburn going against him.
Yeah, right. And that 3-3-5.
Rocky got it from Joe Lee. See,
yes.
Back at New Mexico, when Rocky was a head coach. I mean, Joe Lee was a head coach there. Rocky played under him, and a lot of that came from there. And then these guys are all Rocky long disciples and things that go from that. And it's tough.
Did it help? And I know it's a very different level, but did it help that you saw a little bit of this the early part of the season?
Yeah, we played in Mexico's in the game, and the scheme, though, they just got a little bit better people doing it. But schematic, it's similar. Very similar. What
does a quarterback have to identify when you see that, Jimbo? Because is it almost like eye candy by the defense as well?
It is, but then it's eye candy after the ball snap.
Oh.
I mean, the multiple how they change the gaps and move. But you get declarations, your protection declarations, your run checks, your numbers game, where you get angles and how the stuff you have to do, and then understanding where their twists and stunts are coming from. So it's very challenging.
They had a 7-3 game against Arkansas, which it was the old double take. I'm like, wait a second, what century are we in?
Yeah.
that's an old school SEC game, right, against Arkansas.
Yeah, I mean they don't give up much now.
No.
They're hard. They're physical too up front. Big guys up front. I mean, their ends 36 can rush like crazy. 94 is great inside. 22 Pickering is really good inside. They're physical. They can run. I mean, their backers 44 and 14 do as good a job. They play hard, man, and they're really instinctive and play good with their eyes.
I was joking with their play-by-play guy. I said, Crumity can graduate at any time now. He can move on to, and that's not the only guy that you concern yourself with. But with that, you're going to earn every yard on offense.
It's going to be a physical game.
Yeah,
it's going to be a physical game.
You talked about 5, and that's Tulu Griffin, and he reminds me of Aniyah Smith. They can't put the ball in his hands enough on offense, can they?
And he's so explosive and such a great space player, man.
Yeah,
go get it.
Yeah, and it's again. Mike Wright, if he's the quarterback, played at Vanderbilt, so he knows the SEC as well. I mean, obviously there's a drop-off.
And they're playing a freshman behind him, too, who can throw it. So it'll be a whole mix.
Rodgers, I learned, and I know Mike's not there, one of the reasons why Will Rogers ended there was he was running that same offense in high school.
Yeah, they were running.
Fit.
Yeah, so he's been doing it for like 6-8 years.
That's like knowing it back of your hand, right?
Exactly
for
right.
that one.
Makes a difference.
Much more to come. Actually, one more segment to come. The Jimbo Fisher Radio Show is presented by Capital Farm Credit. We'll talk more about Saturday's contest with Mississippi State. It's a 6:30 kick at Kyle Field and a 5:30 pregame St. Joseph Health pregame show. That's all along the network. Come on back. One final segment with head coach Jimbo Fisher. It's the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show presented by Capital Farm Credit. And this is Aggie Football from Learfield. Rudy's is a proud sponsor of Aggie Football. Be sure to stop by your local Rudy's or Rudy's.com for some real Texas barbecue. Enjoy 100% oak smoked meats, delicious sides, and Rudy's signature sauce. Want to remind you, Reed Arena, Friday night, the inaugural Military Appreciation Concert. That is with Riley Green. It's featuring Josh Abbott Band. Tickets, $20 on sale now. 12man.com/SRS concert. Final segment of the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show presented by Capital Farm Credit. And this is where Andrew gets a little silly. Here we go. You have been the quarterback who's had to come off the field after an interception and talk to your coach. So what do you say to Max Johnson after something like that happens? Is it a dialogue or is it a monologue?
No. It's first, all right, what did you see? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it goes back to me. Why did you do what you do? What made you do that? You know what I'm saying? And sometimes, I mean, it can be a route. A receiver can bust a route. Protection, you didn't see it front. I mean, you couldn't see the safety because of this, or you misread the. I mean, just the first thing is what was you thinking and what made you do what you did? What was your thought process? Because that's the only way you can help them and figure out what's going on. That's the first thing, and why did you do? And then why did it go there? You know what I'm saying? Kind of why is my magic words.
But the why also becomes, because I don't want to stop with just the negative. The positive of him rolling out and finding Jake, who's wide open. He didn't miss that one at all.
No.
You want to meet him as well there.
Oh, yeah,
right?
Great play, because what he did on that, they actually covered Jake. We had a post and a wheel, had a bootleg coming, and he come out and they played him too, and he went to go back to the boot because it was wide open. Well, the guy come off of Jake, saw it and saw his eyes and came back to Jake, and then when he did, he knew that guy came off, so he was able to go right back to where Jake was, because Jake was covered originally, and then he was going to throw the boot to Jade, matter of fact, coming across the field, and then and that was great. That's a great job with your eyes. You went, we always call it down, up, down. You're going out, in, out. You know what I mean? Different things on your nakeds and because how they play you tells you where your eyes go, where the ball's got to go, and he did a really good job on that.
You've talked time and again about you have more than just 5 starters on the offensive line, 3 wide receivers, this and that. You consider those guys starters. Ja'Day Walker's one of those guys, correct?
Yeah, I mean, he stepped up huge. I mean, didn't have an Evan there. You know, we hate not to lose Evan. He's a great player, but, you know, he stepped up. That was his second 100-yard day. And 8 catches, 100 yards in that game.
Yeah.
I mean, and what that means. And, you know, had the big catch to set us up down for the field goal. I mean, and that last drive, he had 3 catches. In the last drive, he had a hitch, he had a comeback, it got us to the 50, and then he had to square in it, put us down to the 30. And him and I mean, they had all the catches in that drive, and it was huge. You know, being able to go to him, make big plays, and listen, I'm telling you, this guy's going to be a really good, and he's becoming a really, really good player. Size, speed, great. You know, always had a smile on his face, and he's a big physical guy too, and he can run. I mean, he's got a chance to be a really, really good football player.
He always brings juice on that practice
field. He does.
Field,
I mean, he's just happy to be there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just, you know, some guys, you go, does he really want to? I mean, sometimes you know how you get. We all do. When you go to work, I call it when you go to work. Y'all, everybody's not always joyous when you're going to work. Guys ain't always joyous to go to practice. I mean, you think, but he is. He's one of them. But I mean, like if he's really down, you're going, all right, something else is wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, he enjoys every second he gets on the grass.
You have brought in a bunch of those guys who love everything about.
Well, I think
ball.
that you got to. Listen. Today's time, and like you say, it's too hard. Those things we were talking about before. You got to find. All right, I like to play, but do you like all the things that go with ball? You like the work, you like the lifting, you like the film study, and then appreciate when you get out there how you can apply it and you got to go to work. And that's as important about picking your team as the best athletes. I mean, you know, that attitude, to me, attitude sets the tone for everything. Mm-hmm. Everything you do in life is by one word, attitude. And if that's right, it's amazing what you can accomplish and achieve.
That's why you're confident this gets going, right?
Yeah, I do. I mean, like I said, what I described a minute ago, 14-0 to 14-7, 20-7 to 20-14, then to 28-14, and then to 28-21, 31-21, 31-28, 35-31. I mean, that's what allows me to do that. The fight. I mean, we got to get over that hump, but they're there. You know what I'm saying? They're not backing off of. They're not. There's no throwing it. I mean, it's. Hey, we're all in this thing. We're going to get over the hump, and you got to keep pushing. And that's what makes, like I say, these hard times make the great ones that much better.
On the road against number 11.
Yeah.
And that place was nervous.
It was. I mean, we was. And we got to make them cry.
Yeah, that's right.
We got to learn to make them cry and not be nervous.
But there's this feeling, Jimbo, that once it is figured out, there's going to be going back.
It does. And we're talented, and health has a part to do with it. Experience has a part to do with it. But we got to coach. We got to find a way to. Yeah. We got to push the button. We got to figure the button out. You know what I mean? And get it to where we don't get there.
So if we've talked love and trust, this is the believe part.
Exactly correct. And they are. And they're use at practice. I mean, we've had a really good week of practice. Yeah. Maybe a better week than we had a week ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, and I don't mean that we didn't, but it was the guys have been in practice, and we've executed them well.
There's never been any doubt, like the way you say that, but there was so much joy that I saw yesterday for one another, Jimbo. Whether it was just a terrific
going at
catch.
It, practicing hard, going good. I mean, and I understand how to encourage guys and happy to be on. I call it happy and being on the grass. I mean, where else do you want to be? I mean, that's what you're here to do. That's why you came to A&M. Everybody, it's all the other stuff, but it's to play ball. That was the number one goal. I wanted to play ball at A&M. And I get all the other things from it, but. When you get to that grass, you got to be happy.
Yeah, absolutely. I love something DJ Durkin has said all year. He goes, when we get an interception on this field, we're celebrating. You might as well get behind me because I'm going to be running down the field.
Yeah, I mean,
that's infectious.
It is, and it worked too hard not to enjoy the good things.
Absolutely. Hey, turn it loose, pull the pin, beat the hell out of Mississippi State on Saturday.
Get started fast. Thank you all very much.
He's Jimbo Fisher, head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies. We will come your way at 5:30 on Saturday. It's the St. Joseph Health pregame show. We'll get you started for the Aggies and the Mississippi State Bulldogs. We're going to hear from Ernest Crownover and Albert Regis and Will Johnson. We'll be talking with Edgerrin Cooper, and we'll have the final thoughts from Jimbo Fisher ahead of that game with the Bulldogs. Again, 5:30, our St. Joseph Health pregame. 6:30 is the kick. The Aggies and the Mississippi State Bulldogs. That is at Kyle Field. Kevin Menchow is our engineer. Tony O'Neill is the producer of the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show presented by Capital Farm Credit in our Learfield studios. For head coach Jimbo Fisher, I'm Andrew Monaco. We thank you so much for joining us. Thanks and gig 'em. This is Aggie Football from Learfield.